Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, a show about hot takes hotter than hot tasty pancakes. I'm Christian, coming to you live from the messy room, and I'm joined by my two favorite co-hosts.
Chris Conkling.
And Brian Dupree, the messy room coming back.
Yeah, we haven't heard that in a while.
It's extra messy. I'm doing, I've got a lot of, hold on, let me, for the podcast, I've got a lot of tapes. I've been doing like conversions and stuff at home for my family of old 8mm tapes. And yeah, it's extra messy. So
for those of you who can't see this who aren't watching on YouTube, Christian just opened a giant trench coat that he had, and he has bootleg tapes just lining this.
Got a lot of tapes. You guys want to buy some tapes?
I got the first Kingsman and something called Transmorphous. $5 a pop. It only plays on Sony Handycams made in the 1990s and early 2000s.
Looks surprisingly good though.
It does high quality. What is this show? Well, it's a pop culture podcast, unlike anything you've heard before, because, gentlemen, as you know on this show, we do things a bit different around here. And we open up with some extra wacky news. Brian delivers that. We then talk about what we've been consuming with our quick hits. Gentlemen, I'll try not to go on too long with mine. Spoiler alert, there is none for me. Been very busy. Hey, this messy room might change soon. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to jinx anything, though. Could be a change of scenery for old Christian. The old lady might be booting me out. So, bye, my son. I'll be coming to you next episode with a stick, with a bandana, and stuffed in it are all my belongings.
You riding the rails.
You know me on Pop-O-Holics. I'm always riding the rails.
Riding the rails with a pack over your shoulder and a Yeti blue mic in your pocket.
Nope, Chris. Just happy to see you. Let's start the way we do on this show with Brian's Wacky News Corner.
Start on wacky, start on wacky. Start on wacky, start on wacky. Welcome back, everyone. So the first piece of news, Kenya Barris, who is the creator of the TV show Blackish, as well as a couple of spin-off shows that have been created, definitely done well, popular stuff on television, is set to write and direct a reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. So we don't have too much plot details about this aside from Kenya Barris's involvement. We do know that there is a second version of The Wizard of Oz directed by Nicole Castle, who worked on Watchmen, and is described as a fresh take on Dorothy and the Land of Oz. Both of these obviously are based on the L. Frank Baum book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And we'll see. These are the type of stories that obviously we've seen the original. It's a classic for a reason. I'm not sure if these are going to be even musicals. Obviously, the original being a musical was a huge element of it. Neither of these have said that they're going to be musicals at this point. Kenya Barris himself is working on a few other things right now. He's finishing up a feature called You People for Netflix. He is also working on a remake of the 1992 sports comedy White Man Can't Jump, with Jack Harlow playing the role previously played by Woody Harrelson. So got a lot going on here. A lot of remakes in the world. A lot of remakes, but something like The Wizard of Oz, I think, is a timeless story for a reason, that, especially if you're doing, although there have been a handful of attempts at remakes that haven't done so well, I think it's something that can potentially be done well. And you have someone like David Lynch, who all of his movies are kind of like The Wizard of Oz, even though they're not really like The Wizard of Oz. So definitely looking forward to seeing what angle these creators take on the Wizard of Oz story. Chris, let's start with you. What's your history with the original Wizard of Oz? Did you grow up watching this? I personally, my great aunt used to babysit me when I was very young, and she had a copy of the Wizard of Oz that I would watch on her small, like 10-inch TV in her room. This is one of my earliest memories, watching the original Wizard of Oz. So what is your history with that?
I saw the original movie when I was a kid. So I've seen it a couple of times over the course of my life. And I don't want to be that guy, but to
Overrated?
me, no, not the original by any means. But to me,
Okay.
I don't know why we keep trying to remake The Wizard of Oz. Is it because of its like classic status as a film, and it's a huge part of Hollywood and film history. So to me, I'm not particularly excited about this news or particularly interested. I hope that doesn't come across too negative, but
It's understandable.
We'll see.
It's
We'll
a
see what
classic,
happens.
right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can make a film better than the original, but we'll see what happens here. Christian, what's your history with The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I just bought the 4K release that came out, I think, a year or two ago.
That's right.
I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I have done the Pink Floyd thing, which is really fun. If you've never done that before, I think it holds up. I think it's a solid sync operation you can have there, where you play Dark Side of the Moon and watch Pink Floyd. Money, when that kicks in, it's a good time. Is there room to make a new Wizard of Oz? Yeah, of course. I'm not sure if this is the creative team to do it, but we shall see. I'm not going to count it out. I do think when you take
You
a
got to
classic...
sync it up with the latest Bad Bunny project, though.
Probably.
It works similarly well.
Yeah. I don't know enough Bad Bunny songs still. I did a Bad Bunny play on words. I'd be doing the same song because that's the only song that I ever remember. Bad Bunny's great. Anyway, I think that this could be very cool, but it obviously, sets your bar pretty high when you go to remake a classic. But
Definitely.
I'm not like Chris. I'm not someone who hates the kids. I'm not anti.
I don't hate the kids.
Stop hating the kids, Chris. With their tortillas.
The kids just
The kids are our future, Christian. I just want the best for them.
pushing for the Wizard of Oz remake. They're like,
Yeah,
this is
the
100 years
movie.
old. I'm so interested in this still. Please. It feels very relevant to me.
Yeah, I think as long as they CGI the lion, we'll be good.
There it is. We know Cats did exceptionally well in that regard.
Same team. We need to get that
if
same
they,
that same visual effects team on board and just make the creepiest, sexiest lion you've ever seen in your life. And I think it's going to be a winner.
So yeah, that is Kenya Barris is going to be making a version of Wizard of Oz and a new adaptation of Wizard of Oz at Warner Brothers. So our next piece of news, Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game that I haven't played, but I know Christian played and really enjoyed when it came out. It is getting a film adaptation by Chad Stahelski, and he is planning to make this with an all Japanese cast in Japanese language. This is really exciting. I think when this game came out, we talked a lot about how visually stunning it was. I'm not sure if the gameplay was entirely new. I know there were some cool functions that I remember you talking about, Christian, where when you don't know where to go, you can click a button and the wind will blow you in the correct direction towards like the tasks you need to complete.
Yep.
Definitely cool ideas there. But I know I saw a lot of footage and beautiful imagery captures from this game. So definitely something inspired by Akira Kurosawa. There was a Kurosawa mode that was black and white, which another way to make this game look incredible. So saying that he's going to do this written in Japanese, a non-Japanese director, obviously coming in to direct Japanese actors, it's going to be an interesting experiment for him. He obviously hasn't done anything like this before, and I don't think it's particularly common. But given the source material, if you can get obviously Japanese writers to do this, this is probably the best way to adapt this sort of story. We talked recently about something like Bullet Train, which was from a Japanese creator originally, but recast with largely non-Japanese leads for that one. I think this is a smart move. And hopefully in the age of Stahelski was asked about people reading subtitles in the age of Parasite, winning Best Picture and becoming as big as it did, streaming, making subtitles a lot more common. Hopefully people are getting a little more exposed to that in things like Squid Game as well, doing really well on Netflix. People are watching maybe a little more subtitled content than they used to. So hopefully something like this could be done well. Christian, let's start with you. How do you feel about Ghost of Tsushima being adapted into a film and Stahelski's take on it?
Well, it's strange. Because so much of what makes Ghost of Tsushima an amazing game, it's like one of my favorite games the year it came out, is that it takes like the best of Japanese cinema and puts it in a game. And so to base a movie on it is kind of strange because it is so much just Japanese samurai cinema. So, the story itself of Ghost of Tsushima is solid, but I would not say it's a standout. It's the vibe of it, which is really cool. It is an aesthetic, and there are really cool things about that aesthetic. I actually get hope by the Chad Stahelski. He's the one, I believe he directed all the John Wick movies.
He did.
And he's been the stunt coordinator and done stunts on, let me read a couple of these. Deadpool 2, The Wolverine, Tron Legacy, Iron Man 2, Speed Racer, V for Vendetta, 300, The Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Spider-Man 2. Just to name one of 100 movies that he's worked on in the stunt coordination. So the emotional stuff, I think, could be hard to do, especially when you're talking about a film that's going to be in a foreign language, because I think you need to be even more so. But if there's someone, you need even more so careful and visual about it. But if there's someone who could do it, someone who's already proven themselves a great visual director, I think he's made for it. So I'm excited about this combination and promise. And I think it's a new era for video game movies and TV shows and content. I think you're starting to get a bunch of people like Dan Trachtenberg, who got famous from doing the Portal, the Portal game. He made a short about that, and now he's doing amazing movies. You get directors like him and other people that have grown up playing these games, grown up on the film, who can translate that well. But again, I do find it odd that it is so much a game that is a beautiful game inspired by Japanese cinema, that now to make a movie of it is odd. But I'm optimistic about this one. Chris, what about you?
Like Brian, I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima either, but we've heard Christian talk a ton about it here on the podcast.
Ghost of shame on you.
Shame on both of us. Because I think I would actually really like the game. Christian has tried to get me to play it multiple times. It still might be something to come in my future. However, I'm very excited to hear about this news. Christian has already mentioned Stahelski's, professional background. Apparently, he's been back and forth to Japan several times over the course of his life. So I'm hoping that he is pretty fluent in Japanese. One would hope, if he's going to be directing an entirely Japanese production.
Yeah, I think he said in the article that we have linked that he's been traveling there since he was 16. So got to imagine he spent a decent chunk of time there. I would hope. Yeah, if you're going to try and direct Japanese actors, you got to be some level of fluent, right?
Yeah. Just to, garner their respect at the very least.
Got to bring your culture cred.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I don't know, this might be a surprise for our listeners, but Stahelski is not a Japanese man.
No, he is not. He's an American man. When we talked about Prey, was it two weeks ago? One of the critiques that I had about the film is that I really wish the film had been shot with the cast speaking Comanche to add to the verisimilitude of the movie. Now, granted, I don't mind the English dialogue in the film. They use some really clever tricks in the film, so the viewer understands that while English is being spoken, it's really Comanche that's being spoken within the universe. But to hear that this film is going to be entirely in Japanese, and it's a Japanese story, that gets me very excited. Because like I said, it just adds to the verisimilitude of the story. It puts you more in the world of the characters when they're speaking their native language. And, not only with movies like Parasite and, television shows like Squid Game, like you mentioned, Brian, but, we are in a golden age of anime fandom as well. So people are very accustomed to reading subtitles when it comes to anime. And obviously that audience is probably going to be predisposed to go see an epic samurai film. But I think now is kind of the perfect time to release a movie like this. And I personally cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they make the brave decision to film the whole thing in Comanche.
But make sure that there's a Japanese dub available as well.
All the characters are going to be named Chad, just for the verisimilitude. Very traditionally Japanese name. So that's Ghost of Tsushima.
Chad's son.
Oh my God.
No, let's not. Planning on doing an all Japanese cast and in the Japanese language for the adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima.
Just the last note. It's funny this is news. I mean, I think it's great. It's cool. But the fact that radical scoop here by Collider. Director wants to make movie about Japanese people set in feudal Japan in Japanese with Japanese actors. There's kind of a sort of depressing thing about it.
But it shows the state of things.
I know.
It's very depressing. I think the real, and I'm not saying it's right, but the fact that it would be a Western production with fully Japanese dialogue, that's really like,
of course,
the astounding thing about this, like the special thing where it really shouldn't be special at all about this movie. But that's really what the article is about.
Yeah, I guess it would be interesting if like Hideo Kojima was like, I'm making a game about the revolution and it's going to be an all-American cast. Wait, no, that's kind of how he makes Metal Gear Solid. Never mind. It adds up.
I'm excited to see him inevitably tweet about this movie. He's a great follow on Twitter.
Kojima?
Yeah.
For sure. That dude's wild. He's a wild man.
So moving on to the next piece of news. Robert De Niro is going to be starring in another mob drama called Wise Guys from director Barry Levinson.
Can't be real. This can't be real.
It does seem a little bit like a parody of what he would make. These two have worked together before on the HBO movie The Wizard of Lies, where De Niro played Bernie Madoff, as well as What Just Happened and Wag the Dog and Sleepers. Wag the Dog is the only one I've seen of those, which is a movie I've only seen once, but is a great movie. Really enjoyed that. Levinson himself is an Oscar winner, known for doing Toys, Rain Man, Good Morning Vietnam, and many more. Obviously, De Niro, two-time Oscar winner as well. Most recently has done The Irishman and Joker, going to be in Killers of the Flower Moon, the latest Scorsese movie. Mm-hmm. This is going to be penned by the writer of Goodfellas, Nicholas Pileggi, and is based on a 1985 book called Wise Guy, Life in a Mafia Family. I'm a little confused with something that is said in this, and I'm not going to say too much about the plot of what actually happens here, but it says Wise Guy is a period piece which tells the story of Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, a pair of Italian Americans running two separate crime families during the mid 20th century. Apparently, De Niro is playing both of these characters.
Yep.
So I think this is kind of the fundamental, like, what? From this announcement, De Niro playing two rival mob bosses. I have no idea how much, if there's going to be full.
Imagine, the TikTok
is
video
doing rival Bobs, just like doing the De Niro face back and forth.
Yeah. Like, I closed my eyes and I just saw a TikTok of like, when people make a video about two people talking to each other, but it's clearly just the same person. And
yes.
But it's Robert De Niro
with a hat on, backwards cap,
and it's like this scene in Heat.
This just in: the film is actually going to be shot vertically and will be a TikTok
and dubbed in Comanche.
Yes.
Every time I think of Robert De Niro impressions, I always think about the old Jimmy Fallon impression from Saturday Night Live from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like the "gonna meet."
Yeah, here's how you do a good Robert D face. Is you pretend like you have you remember that candy Warheads?
Yes.
That made you pucker your lips, but then you have to act really tough. You're in a bad part of town and you just have to look tough. You got a warhead in your mouth, but you kind of have to do a bit of like the grumpy cat. You got to do a bit of the grumpy cat where like your frown's like. Well, that's what I'm saying. You're so uncomfortable because you got two of the nuclear lemons, whatever they're
two
called.
of them, one in each cheek.
Yeah. It's so sour.
That's a big part of his method acting was warheads in. That was part of, you call action, you got to have the warheads.
Brando uses cotton balls. De Niro uses lemon flavored warheads.
You want to know my secret? Warheads.
sour. Yeah, I don't know. It's Robert De Niro. It's a mob movie.
What's not to like?
We have all the right ingredients for something great to potentially happen here.
What if there was 2 Robert De Niro's in a mob movie?
But what if there
now
was
we've doubled the fun.
Yes. So, that's Wise Guys. That'll be directed by Sam Levinson. Definitely will keep everyone in the loop on that. Let's move into some stuff that's coming out this week. I'm going to start with a video game, guys. It's a rare one where there's a relatively big title coming out this week. We have the reboot of Saints Row coming out from developer Volition, published by Deep Silver. This is going to be coming out on August 23rd, this Tuesday. And it'll be on Windows, PS4 and 5, Xbox One, and Series X and S, as well as Google Stadia. And is set in the fictional city of Santo Ileso, located in the American Southwest and based loosely on the city of Las Vegas, Nevada. This is currently under control of 3 criminal gangs. I don't know too much about these games. I know there was a series of them prior that apparently did well, considering there was a series. Chris, have you heard of the Saints Row games? Did you ever play them? Is this something that at all interests you in terms of getting a reboot? I don't talk about video game release often, so I saw this seemed like a relatively major one. Chris, let's start with you.
Brian, I've heard of the Saints Row games. I've never played a single one, and I'm not interested. Christian, what about you?
There it is. Quick and easy.
So you both know GTA, Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Pretty big game. They don't make them a lot because they take forever because they
I mean
outdoing themselves.
The last one has jumped many generations.
Yeah, and apparently the
consoles.
new one, GTA 6, is going to be a while. This is going to be a couple of years. They were like work-life balance, and they're like it's going to take 15 years to make this game. So they're like we got rid of crunch, and they're like awesome. When's the new GTA coming out? And they're like we got rid of crunch. Anyway, so anyway, you have Grand Theft Auto, and that's like I don't know, the NFL.
Okay,
and then you've got
this is the XFL.
This is the XFL of GTA, which is like we're desensitized to football, right? Because it's a horrifically violent sport that I love as an American. I don't know who doesn't, but we're like 12 men or 11 men. Is it 11? Is it 11 or 12, Brian? 11, I think. We'll enter the field of both teams. 11 on 11, 22 men, and they'll just hit each other. They'll just tackle and throw 400 pounds of their own body weight on top of each other. And we're like, yeah, this is sport. And the XFL is like, but what if you could like punch people in the dick while you did it?
We recently reminisced about NFL Blitz, so let's not judge too harshly.
For the video game fans, it is the Blitz to GTA's Madden. And apparently they're taking it back a little bit where they're not going as ridiculous. But by the last Saints Row game, which I'm going to say, I'm an NFL guy. Okay. I'm a classic.
Okay. So wait, but you did play some of these games.
I did. And they're ridiculous. They are like GTA, but like you also have superpowers and you're the president. Like they go full. I believe the last Saints Row game.
I'm in.
I played.
I'm now interested.
Yeah. I believe you're the president of the United States and you get superpowers. And then it's also kind of like GTA. This from everything I've learned, they've drawn back quite the ridiculousness where it was like a GTA clone that got more ridiculous. They've now pulled it back for this one and they're using some new tech. I believe this is running on I don't think it's Unreal Engine 5 like the newest one, but I believe the last one was made on Unreal Engine 3. So this one's like Unreal Engine 4 or the equivalent Unity engine. And it is so they're modernizing it a little bit. It'll be interesting. I'm interested to see the reviews. These games I've never been a big fan of, but they're going to offer that GTA fix to those who are looking for it, in kind of maybe a more similar like Just Cause. I don't know if y'all are playing that game, but it's kind of like this. They really embraced the part of GTA that is sandbox fun simulator. Whereas GTA has that, but they also do a great story and it's more character driven and it's really detailed. Whereas this is like, you know how fun it is to go on a rampage in GTA and steal a bunch of cars. They're like, let's make a whole game that's like that fun. They really leaned into that more than GTA even did. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic and I really want to see the reviews because I know that they've done quite a bit to rework it. So we'll see.
Okay, cool.
Back to you, Brian.
I'm glad you actually knew about these games. I was kind of taking a shot in the dark there. So that is the Saints Row reboot that is out on all major consoles this Tuesday.
The first hour of that last Saints Row game, because I had come into the series like after missing it, and to see that you were the president of the United States punching people through buildings.
This is like the same main character throughout the games that has become president.
You would create your own character. Yeah, I think the story had led up to that in the last one, but you actually create your own character. Again, it's very sandboxy. It's a lot more like have fun in the playground kind of game.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's Saints Row. Definitely check that out. Let us know what you think. Moving into some stuff that's coming out on TV this week. We have a new series called Mo that's coming to Netflix this Wednesday. This is from executive producers and creator Mohammed Mo Amer and Rami Youssef, they are known for doing the Hulu show Rami, which we brought up recently. I've only seen a couple of episodes.
Incredible show. Amazing show. It's an excellent show. Love it.
So this is based on Amer's own experiences as a Palestinian refugee growing up in Texas. Mo straddles the line between two cultures, 3 languages, and a ton of BS as a Palestinian refugee, constantly living one step away from asylum and on the path to U.S. citizenship. This is kind of a slice of life story similar to Rami that is just showing what life is like in America for this guy, Mo. We have Teresa Ruiz starring as his girlfriend, Maria, Farah Bisieso. I apologize about pronunciation there, as Mo's mother, Yusra Najjar, and many more. And this show looks great. It made me want to go back and finish watching Rami, which I had picked up a couple of years ago and never come back to. But yeah, this is coming to Netflix this Wednesday. Christian, I know you've obviously watched Rami. Would you be interested in checking out Mo, the same creative team?
Very exciting because Rami, I think, is a severely underrated show that I believe is on FX, so I think it's on Hulu.
Yes, that's right.
So it's going to be very exciting to see what that creative team does. But part of that show is what's his name? I don't know. I don't have his full name, but his name is Rami, I believe.
Rami Youssef. Yeah.
Rami Youssef. Is Rami Youssef going to be in this show?
He's not, but he is a producer.
Yeah, the fact that he's involved is great, but he is a really, obviously, he's a central character, and he really does pull that through. But the supporting cast in Rami is great. The little slice of life nature that we've gotten from a lot of these modern shows, that sensibility is so there. So if our main character is as engaging or more so, it's gonna be a good time.
Yes, that's Mo. That'll come to Netflix this Wednesday.
Hey, that's some Mo Netflix for you. All right, moving on. Back to you, Brian.
Coming to FX this Wednesday, we've got Welcome to Wrexham. So this is something that I've seen a handful of advertisements for, and the people involved with it are kind of what drew me to it, because I'm not a giant soccer fan personally, or football, depending on this part of the world that you're in. This is a new docuseries starring Rob McElhenney, who many may know as Mac from It's Always Sunny, one of the creators and writers and stars of that show, and Ryan Reynolds, and the process of them purchasing the Welsh Association Football Club, Wrexham AFC. So this is a club that apparently when they bought it was pretty much on the down and outs, had been owned by a kind of like a fan-owned trust fund of sorts that didn't really want to sell to anyone. And eventually, because of these two guys being the ones who are offering it, it decided to sell it and have been progressively doing better. They missed getting promoted to. We've watched Ted Lasso recently, so I know vaguely what promotion is in soccer. But they didn't get promoted most recently, but apparently they've progressively gotten done pretty well in the last couple of seasons. So this is a show about them becoming a part of this town, getting close, and kind of rebuilding this very old sports team in Wrexham. Like I said, the people here are what drove me to it. These two characters,
charisma powerhouses.
Exactly.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Are you planning on checking out this show?
Absolutely. I've been listening to them tell this story about how they came about purchasing the Wrexham football team. And I can't wait to see the documentary because I think it's just going to be interesting about the process. But like I said, you also have these two exceptionally charismatic gentlemen involved, and watching them play off of one another just in interviews. Rob McElhenney recently guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel Live. So and Ryan Reynolds was a guest on one of those episodes. So they're a lot of fun when they interact with one another. I think the documentary is going to be a lot of fun as well.
It seems like an unreal premise. Can't believe
It's like a real Ted Lasso.
Literally Ted Lasso.
Except they're not coaching.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't strike me as the most positive people on the planet. Not that they're like insanely negative, but I just see, they're sassy. They're sassy Sasquatches.
They are indeed sassy.
So a bunch of sass.
Nothing wrong with a little sass on the soccer pitch.
Sometimes it's what you need.
Sure. I can't believe this is a real thing. It's very exciting. 6
episode docuseries that'll be starting on FX this Wednesday. That's Welcome to Wrexham.
It's going to be the Sandman of sports docuseries.
Yes, indeed. Moving into some movies that are coming out this week, something that we will actually be covering later this month. We have George Miller's latest film, 3,000 Years of Longing, that'll be in theaters this Friday.
Technically, next month, Brian will be covering it in September.
True. Yes, right. Okay. Appreciate the correction. Yes, the very end of George Miller month. This is directed and co-written by George Miller. It's an adaptation of the short story The Djinn in the Nightingale's Eye by A.S. Byatt and stars Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton. The premise of this movie: a scholar content with life encounters a djinn who offers her 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. This leads to unexpected consequences, as we would expect from this sort of story. This is a ancient tale of what would you wish for if you could wish for anything. This movie looks like it's going to be wild. We were all pretty big fans of Everything Everywhere All at Once, maximalist kind of filmmaking. This looks kind of in that realm of just tons of stuff happening with this creative team around it. I'm really looking forward to this one, even though it's not getting incredible critical reviews. But I am still looking forward to it. And as a fan of George Miller and everyone involved here, how are we feeling about 3,000 Years of Longing? Chris?
From the director of Happy Feet. I think that should be how they're advertising
and
this.
Babe 2.
And Come Babe on. 2.
Don't you forget it.
I'm excited to see this
Pig
movie.
in the City.
Pig in the City. Babe 2, Pig in the City. I'm excited to see this movie for all the reasons that you just mentioned, Brian. It's definitely going to be maximalist filmmaking. There has been, for anyone watching What We Do in the Shadows recently, the most recent season, there has been a djinn in that show, and they can be very deceptive when it comes to wish granting and the rules around how you frame wishes. So I think it'll be a very interesting film.
You wished for a good movie, did you? Brian says, "Be there, we'll be wild." I'm excited. You guys didn't get the reference. Anyway, of course. This is like the guy that made Mad Max Fury Road, which is like a masterpiece of filmmaking through visual storytelling and action set pieces.
Boom.
So yeah, of course. Who's not stoked? I don't care if someone says, it's a fart of a movie. I'd be like, I'm still gonna see it. Sorry.
Still gonna check out that. I'll sniff that fart.
I will sniff that fart.
Throw it on the poster.
Yeah.
That's 3,000
Brian of Pop-O-Holics says, I'll sniff that fart.
Spray it on the poster.
That's 4DX. FartDX. 3,000 years.
The Irish version. That's FartDX. FartDX.
Oh, no.
Oh, what a rabbit hole. Brian, what else is coming out?
We've also got The Invitation coming to theaters this Friday. This is a supernatural horror thriller written and directed by Jessica M. Thompson and co-written by Blair Butler. It stars Natalie Emanuel and Thomas Doherty. It's inspired by Dracula by Bram Stoker and follows a young woman who, after her mother's death, meets her family for the first time, only to discover the dark secrets behind them. As usual, I know this is a movie that you guys probably are not going to see, but I love the consistent horror movies that are coming out. These are staples of theaters and are one of the genres that are consistently putting out movies throughout the entire year. So something that I always appreciate as a constant moviegoer. That's The Invitation. Definitely looks like it could be a fun one in theaters this Friday. Moving on to our last movie that's coming out this week to Prime Video, we have Samaritan. This is a movie that has never been discussed on this podcast before.
And definitely exists.
And definitely exists now. So anyone who feels differently can just, pull up the old podcast where I was being an idiot and announce this early. But Samaritan is a superhero film directed by Julius Avery, written by Bragi F. Shutt, and starring Sylvester Stallone in the title role, as well as Javon Walton and many more. This is described as a dark new take on superhero movies. Hear that, Snyder Bros. And the story was previously adapted into a comic by some of the people involved in this movie. The premise is a young boy comes to the realization that a famed superhero who was thought to have gone missing after an epic battle 25 years ago may in fact still be around. This is not a ridiculously original premise, but Sylvester Stallone being in this movie, it coming to Prime Video. This is basically Sylvester Stallone in a possibly a little bit sillier Unbreakable is kind of the vibe that I'm getting.
That's a great way to pitch it.
I feel, and I'm kind of here for it. It looks like it could be a bit of fun. Are you guys here for this movie, Chris? At all? Now that this movie exists, there's a trailer for it. Would you watch it?
I've seen the trailer a couple times, Brian. Like you said, Stallone in a superhero role. It's an interesting premise. It has been done before, but yeah, this is great. Like, Sunday afternoon movie fodder. Toss it on, watch it, see if it's good or not.
I believe that's the same slot for NASCAR.
You can fall asleep during it, wake up like an hour later, and not feel any differently. You
exactly. Still know exactly what's going on.
Praise here.
Martin Starr is going to be in the film, which is exciting.
That changes everything.
It does. I like Martin Starr.
Saturday night movie
5
fodder.
stars.
No, this movie, I don't know. We'll see. I'm so over superhero movies mostly, and then to see we're gonna do it different. I'm like, oh, you're not. You're not gonna do it different. I don't believe you.
You've never seen a dark new take on the superhero genre.
He's like, I don't give a shit, and I'm super
Not
strong.
like this.
Yeah, I don't know. Stallone's cool. We'll see. You're right. Sunday afternoon, I can't think of anything better to do than put on Samaritan.
So that's Samaritan coming to Prime Video this Friday, and that wraps it up for the news this week.
Brian, how wacky, how fun. I was there. It was wild. You still don't get that reference. Very funny. TBS. Let's move on into what we've been consuming with our Quick Hits. Quick Hits is that very special part of the show where we talk about what we've been consuming in the world of pop culture. I've been consuming a lot of How to Buy a House, and it's going well. So more to come on that, but been very busy. Work, baby, house stuff. So I'll try to watch She-Hulk or something, and I'll get back to you. But someone has been watching She-Hulk, and he's more of a he-Hulk, if you ask me. And that's our
not the bad kind, though.
No. Yeah, and our go-to correspondent on all things green women with a lot to give is Chris Michael Conkling. What did you think of She-Hulk? You've been ready.
I sat down and I watched the first episode this morning before work. IMDb summary is Jennifer Walters navigates the complicated life of a single 30-something attorney who also happens to be a green 6'7" superpowered Hulk.
Yeah, she does.
The promise of the show was it's going to be a comedic, lawyer-based sitcom. We got WandaVision a couple years ago, which was paying homage to sitcoms of the past, but this is Marvel's first genuine attempt at making something that is a sitcom. And I have to say that I absolutely love the first episode. Tatiana Maslany plays Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk. The first episode also has Mark Ruffalo in it. And Tatiana Maslany is just fun and charismatic and likable right off the bat. She breaks the fourth wall almost immediately, so we immediately kind of get into the tone of what the show is going to be. But and we learn a lot about Mark Ruffalo's character as the Hulk. The Hulk is a character that has been somewhat neglected over the course of the MCU's run, mostly because Universal owns the rights to that character and they refuse to give them up. So Marvel cannot make a standalone Hulk film. They have to insert him in a bunch of other projects and kind of move his character progression through those. But I will say that there are a lot of things introduced in this episode that made me smile. There's some moments in regards to his relationship with Tony Stark and how he's coping with his death that I found to be kind of sweet, considering that they were very close in past MCU projects. But even more than that, Mark Ruffalo's relationship with Tatiana Maslany, they're cousins in the show, is very genuine. They have a very fun cousin dynamic, and it feels real. Him trying to kind of mentor her through this experience is just a blast to watch. There are a ton of MCU references in this show, and we haven't seen Tatiana Maslany poke fun at them yet, but from the trailers we will see her like directly reference the fact that MCU fandom is like obsessed with cameos and stuff like that. So I appreciate how self-aware the show is. This first episode is mostly origin. Like I said, a lot of stuff between Hulk and She-Hulk. I can't wait until next week when we finally get into more of what the show's promising, that law-based comedy sitcom show. I kind of wish that they released 2 episodes today instead of just the one. That way we could get a better idea of what the rest of the show is going to be like, because I have a feeling episode 1 is more like a standalone episode for the show, just kind of getting the origin out of the way. But, you know, the show's tackling a lot of concepts about what women kind of have to go through on a daily basis. And there's a portion of the fandom that doesn't necessarily like that. And to them, I say you can.
And by that, you mean women.
Right. Yeah. The women, the female viewers of She-Hulk, I disagree with. No, I think this is finally a great.
What they don't like is women.
So, yeah, right. Exactly. I just want to clarify. We on the Pop-O-Holics hate women.
Yeah.
Chris, I am curious. How different is the fourth wall breaking from like a Deadpool in terms of the kind of feel of it? Does it feel different? It is very similar. Okay.
It's very much the same. Where, you know, obviously, you know, with any fourth wall breaking project, the character is going to be directly referencing the audience, and there are multiple, not as many as I think we're going to get in future episodes, but there are at least 2 or 3 moments in this episode where she looks down the barrel of the camera directly at the audience and addresses them, which are a ton of fun. You know, I really like that. There is a moment where another character kind of acknowledges that she's doing this, which is also really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the show's going to be a blast. I can't wait to see more. It's going to be 9 episodes long, easy breezy, you know, basically 25-minute episodes each week, super digestible. Every single one of these episodes is going to have a post-credit scene, so I will recommend watching through the credits. And I have to say that I think the post-credit scene at the end of the first episode of She-Hulk is probably my favorite post-credit scene for the entire MCU. It is absolutely hilarious, and it ties into a running bit they have going through the whole episode. But highly recommend, unless, you know, you're like an incel in your mother's basement and you don't like women. So
wow.
That's the case. Stay away, because I don't want to hear your bitching. So
that's the group we want to piss off, Chris.
Right, yeah.
Incels. Good job.
Are either of you, I know we've talked about the show, you know, several times in the past. Are either of you like itching to watch this show or interested to see the show at all?
I'm definitely planning on it. Now that they're doing little behind the pod Thursday releases, might make it a little more difficult to be right up to date. But yeah, I'll definitely be watching this weekend or soon before the next one comes out.
I'm an incel, so it's going to be difficult for me to connect with.
Reporting live from his mother's basement.
What I call.
I mean,
what I call another period piece. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yep.
Anyway, no, it looks fun.
Back to you, Brian.
I'm excited. I'm excited for some candy. This show sounds like candy. I like candy.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, give me some candy. I want candy. Bubblegum. Yeah. MC Chris. There you go. All right, Brian. That's She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. You saw a couple of things in the theater, and a new release on Peacock. Tell us about what you've been consuming, Brian.
So yeah, something I talked about in the last couple of weeks that just came out, Inu-Oh, a Japanese anime that is out in wide release right now. This movie is directed by Masaki Yuasa and produced by Science Saru. It's based upon a novel by Hideo Furukawa and set in 14th century Japan. It tells the story of a young man who is born with physical deformities and who becomes kind of like an outcast in the town that he lives in, as well as another boy who plays, what is the instrument that they play? A biwa.
Rock guitar.
He is a young man who's blind who plays the biwa, this instrument. I'm not sure if they're monks, but it's a kind of like a dojo for biwa players that he kind of is raised in. They eventually meet up. The character who has physical deformities, Inu-Oh, is kind of getting blamed for some things that are happening in the town. The animation in this movie is amazing. It can go from relatively standard to like full on kind of psychedelic sort of very experimental sort of thing, switching up the animation style at times. There's also these really kind of beautiful themes about how we tell our stories and how we tell our histories and who is allowed to tell those stories and the power structures around that. And then it's also kind of a musical, a rock opera where we're getting these stories of, they're called Heike, Heiki, of former Heike people being told through this very modern sounding rock music and dancing as well. Our character Inu-Oh often just dances does Michael Jackson moves, like recognizable modern pop culture dance moves and stuff that make this a whole lot of fun given the time period that it's set. And I thought this movie was really great. Something that I would definitely recommend anyone who's interested in anime and, obviously rock music in general, or this sort of kind of like metal rock-ish stuff. There is plenty to enjoy with Inu-Oh.
Brian, thank you for that. In theaters now. Is it? It's an anime?
It is. It is. Yeah, it's animated.
That's fun. What's the style? Is it like that sharp edges, sharp lines, very classic kind of Japanese anime?
Like I said, for the bulk of it, I think it's kind of that classic look, but it does switch up at times throughout the course of it. Okay. And kind of like goes like full on music video at times too, because it's, it does break into music at times. There's like 3 or 4 big musical numbers, I think, throughout it. I say musical numbers, but
last question. What is you said Bayou? What kind of instrument is that? Is that
a biwa? I'm not sure how it's pronounced in English. Biwa. Yeah, it's a stringed instrument.
Tight. Very cool. All right. So
yes, the strings, you have to pull them. I'm so sorry. The other thing I've been watching, it's so bad. This is actually not a new movie. I actually saw this at the Tampa Theater. They did a screening of this. I had heard about it referenced on Empire Film Podcast, podcast that I really enjoy. This is a movie from 1999 called "But I'm a Cheerleader."
Brian, I need you to get the right inflection for the reading of this title.
But I'm a cheerleader.
That's it. Oh boy, nailed it.
Nailed it.
So, this is from 1999. It's directed by Jamie Babbitt and written by her and Brian Wayne Peterson, and stars Natasha Lyonne as Megan Bloomfield, a high school cheerleader whose parents send her to resident inpatient conversion therapy to cure her lesbianism. This is a comedy, if you can believe it, with the conceit of the movie. It is a very kind of black comedy satire on these fundamental religious-ish sorts of camps here that do still exist today, are very serious. A lot of abuse, real abuse happens at these places, which is not funny, obviously. But I think this movie is a whole lot of fun. I think it's hilarious. It's obviously very campy and self-aware and making fun of a lot of this stuff. But I think ultimately it has kind of a sweet feel to it as well. And it does come through and makes it, obviously for 1999, it still feels like something that is kind of progressive in terms of talking about this stuff, making fun of it here, but highlighting how ludicrous it is. Just the conceit of these sorts of camps, and to think that you can change people this way when fundamentally we've shown that that's not how people are. We see an early example of RuPaul here, who is called RuPaul Charles in the cast, who is playing someone who has been converted, who is very much still struggling with the temptations that are natural to him. Really great stuff. I watched this with a crowd. It was a 10:30 p.m. showing. This clearly has like a cult following because the crowd was breaking into applause at various points throughout this movie.
Wow.
Which clearly helped. I was like, oh, okay, people love this movie. It kind of really added to my experience as well. And then, Natasha Lyonne, I haven't seen her in that many things. I think she's in the American Pie movies, maybe. And she did Russian Doll most recently for Netflix, which is kind of a comeback for her in her career, I think. But this movie is not particularly critically well reviewed. But if you're in for this sort of dark comedy, satire stuff, this movie is definitely worth a watch.
It sounds very similar to around the same time. I believe it was 99, if not maybe 2002 at the latest, but Saved.
You've told me about this movie, and I've never seen it.
Oh, Macaulay Culkin vehicle. And Brittany Murphy. Yeah, no, it's that centers around a Catholic school. Obviously, I went to a Christian school, so like obviously right up the alley. But yeah, no, I now that you're mentioning it, I have heard of this film, and I'm very interested in seeing it. So maybe gotta get that Peacock and check it out. Seems like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I'll just quickly say, I've gotten on a kick of the Universal classic monster movies, and I watched Frankenstein and The Mummy. And what can I say? These movies are all-time classics for a reason. They're like an hour, 10 minutes. They're paced ridiculously, concepts to spare, just incredible stuff happening in these movies. So I'm not going to deep dive today, but having a lot of fun going back and watching these movies for the first time from 1930s before the code was implemented. You have characters saying things like, what, I'm just going to sleep with you and I've never met you, or something like that. Just things that you wouldn't expect from like old movies. Yeah. Just really awesome stuff.
It's exciting. What format are you watching them on?
Just digital. So Vudu did a $4.99 4K sale on Frankenstein, which great. I hopped on. And then I just rented The Mummy after that.
They still do the conversions, those modern conversions for those streams. So it's still probably a
4K box set just came out like last year. I have the
I've
Blu-ray
been
box
for
set.
That. It's pricey.
I've been meaning to upgrade to the 4K for those as well.
Yeah, it always depends, because sometimes the Blu-rays are like a 4K or 6K scan they did.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it is the same like source. But that's still exciting nonetheless. I do want to revisit. I've never seen the original Frankenstein and Mummy, so that's really cool, Brian. Can't wait to hear more about that. All right, and that's going to do it for Quick Hits. Let's wrap things up with our community feedback.
Welcome back to the community feedback section, loyal viewers and listeners. In this section, the Pop-O-Holics take care of some housekeeping. We will go over any poll results that we have from our Twitter. This week we don't have any. We will read any 5-star written reviews that you've given us either on Spotify or the Apple Podcast app. When we do have reviews, you get to hear that sweet jingle. That was a free taste of the jingle without any reviews. And then, of course, we highlight our upcoming Throwback Thursday episode coming out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pop-O-Holics. This week on our Throwback Thursday episode, we're continuing our Women Empowerment Month from 2020. If you don't like She-Hulk, you probably won't like any of these conversations.
So go fuck yourself, you incel basement dwelling fuck. Right,
Could have
Chris?
said it better myself, Christian. This week we cover Terminator 2, Judgment Day. It was a great conversation. It is an all-time classic action film. So if you want to check out our conversation about Terminator 2 Judgment Day, you can, again, on youtube.com/Pop-O-Holics this coming Thursday.
And
Do you guys have any...
perfectly timed to our Predator month, a ghost, no, a Predator. Terminator 2, the reason that Arnold Schwarzenegger is not in Predator 2.
Very true.
Right.
He made the right choice.
Synergy. Planned. Every day there's content.
It always works out. Christian, where else can our loyal listeners and viewers find us online?
They can find us. We have a beautiful link in the podcast notes or the YouTube video description that says check us out all around the web, and it takes you all around the web to our social medias as well as that podcast and YouTube feed, respectively, if you're listening or watching on either of those. Also, we have a cool giveaway. I forgot to mention it up top, but if you comment on this video, this is one of your last chances to get in there and get your vote in. You subscribe to the YouTube channel specifically and comment on any of the weekly uploads or our Prey review videos. That gives you one entry to win a beautiful 4K digital copy of the original Predator, starring the previously mentioned Arnie Schwarz. So very exciting, very exciting giveaway there. As follow us there. Gentlemen, where can people find more of your work individually?
Loyal listeners and viewers, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, comic books, television, movies, video games, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it. And then you can find my writing on a monthly basis over on carefulforspoilers.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at True Pop-O-Holic.
And you can find me at Christian Katie on Twitter. My band at Midnight Satire. Midnight Satire is music that I make. Augmented Reality is a new EP streaming now. Music videos on the YouTube Midnight Satire page that you can go check out. These two beautiful blokes are in it. And it's very, very good stuff. I had a lot of fun making it. It's cool. More to come. I have some cool equipment that I've just acquired that, you know, after I may have a big move coming up, and then and I've got a big, I might have access to a very large yard, which is very exciting.
Perfect for shooting
absolutely
independent projects.
Absolutely. It'll be a big set. It's very exciting stuff. Potentially. So that's going to do it for this episode of Pop-O-Holics. It is Predator Month. We are talking about Predator 2, as we mentioned before. So check out that Wednesday episode. And then next week is Predators. So all sorts of new Predator content. Prey, our review, which we gushed about. A lot of fun. Watch that on Hulu and go watch that video or listen to our podcast feed on Prey. I think we did an excellent job recapping that. I talked about all the cool Predator kills and all the cool things in that movie. It's such a good movie. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to watch it again. I don't have any time, but I want to watch it again. So let's end the way that we always do on this show, that the host never forgets about, which is with Christian's TikTok of the week.
This is on Black Friday a few years ago. They started moving Black Friday up, like to Thanksgiving, so people would have to go to work on Thanksgiving. And some stores decided they wanted to stay closed on Thanksgiving so their employees could have the day off, like TJ Maxx. And when they did that, some people wrote to them on Facebook, like this person, Trey, who said, "Boo, you should be open tomorrow. It's just another day." So I made a Facebook page that looks just like TJ Maxx and responded and said, "We'll be open for Thanksgiving, but only if your house is too." He's like, "I'm reporting who made this rude TJ Maxx comment to me. We would read the report, but unfortunately we are still closed." And that made Trey angry. Now this is the same Thanksgiving, and this is the Macy's Day Parade. It featured a kiss between two women that they aired on TV. And now this is the same Trey that we saw writing to TJ Maxx, writing to Macy's now, saying being G... is unnatural and not okay. It's okay to be gay, and it's okay to be Trey. Love yourself. It'll all be okay. Trey, we're still closed. He's like, Macy's and TJ Maxx are related? We're gay lovers.